It feels like just yesterday, almost no one was talking about generative AI. And now, it's like boom. It is absolutely everywhere. It's in our news feeds, it's on our phones, and it is really starting to change the way we create and work. It's clearly one of the biggest technologies to come along in a long, long time. But with all the hype, there's also a ton of confusion. So in this explainer, we're going to cut right through the noise. We're going to get to what this tech is, how it actually works, and what it really means for you and me. All right, so first things first, to really get a handle on this, we need a super clear definition. Let's separate the science from the science fiction and figure out what we are actually talking about here. Okay, at its absolute core, generative AI is a creator. See, instead of just analyzing data that's already out there, it learns the deep down patterns and structures within that data to produce something totally new. You've seen this, right? Think of ChatGPT writing an email from scratch, or a tool like Midjourney creating an image that has literally never existed before. It's not just copying and pasting, it's genuinely creating. This comparison right here, this really gets to the heart of why this is such a revolution. For years, most of the AI in our lives was what we called discriminative. You'd show it a picture and it would tell you, yep, that's a cat. It's basically a very smart labeler. Generative AI flips that completely on its head. You tell it what you want and it says, okay, here is a brand new, never-before-seen picture of a cat. So one just labels the world, the other actually adds to it. So the big question is, how does it actually make something new? How does it pull this stuff seemingly out of thin air? Let's break it down with a really simple example, turning a few words, a prompt, into a picture. This really pulls back the curtain on the magic. It all starts with you, with your prompt. The AI then dives into this enormous library it was trained on. And when I say enormous, I mean it. For a model like GPT-3, we're talking about 45 terabytes of data. It uses that to understand the concepts of cat and sunglasses. From there, it uses complex math to figure out the most probable way those two concepts should look together, and it builds a completely original image pixel by pixel. And this same core idea, learning from tons of data to generate something new, it applies to way, way more than just making cool pictures. It's like a whole creative toolkit. So let's take text. Of course, these models can write an email or summarize a long report in seconds. But what's really blowing people's minds is how it's helping programmers. Tools like GitHub Copilot can help write and, more importantly, debug software code. That's a total game changer, making a really tough process so much faster. And in the visual world, it's about so much more than just making cool art for social media. I mean, sure, companies are using it to design marketing campaigns, but get this, it's also being used in medicine to enhance things like MRI scans, helping doctors spot diseases earlier and with more accuracy. That's a huge deal. The same thing is happening with sound. AI can compose original music, which is pretty cool. But what's really startling is its ability to create these incredibly realistic voices from text. And it can even clone a person's voice, which could be used to dub a film into another language while preserving the original actor's performance. Wild stuff. And now we're on the edge of the next frontier, video and 3D. You may have seen clips from models like Sora that can create short videos from just a text description. Others are being used to generate 3D models for video games or simulators, which could speed up a hugely time-consuming process. Okay, so when you have a tool this powerful, you just know the impact on society is going to be massive. And like with any huge technological shift, it comes with incredible promise, but also some very real peril. Let's start with the promise, because the numbers here are just mind-boggling. Research from McKinsey suggests that generative AI could add up to $4.4 trillion in value to the global economy every single year. To put that in perspective, that's roughly the entire GDP of a country like Germany. It's a colossal wave of potential innovation. But on the other side of that huge number is a deep, profound question about the future of work. This quote from the Hollywood labor strikes back in 2023 really captures that widespread fear. When an AI can write a script, or generate art, or create a voice, it forces us to ask a tough question. What does this mean for the people who do that for a living? And navigating this new world means we have to be brutally honest about some serious risks. For instance, these models can inherit biases from their training data. They can also hallucinate. Basically, they just make up facts with total confidence, which is a huge problem. Then there are the massive unresolved legal battles over copyright and, of course, the very real danger of misuse, from creating deepfakes to spreading misinformation on a terrifying scale.
It's also super interesting to see that not everyone views this technology in the same way. A 2024 survey showed that optimism really varies around the world. In the Asia-Pacific region, for example, 68% of people see AI's impact as positive. That's way higher than the global average. And that difference in attitude really shapes how this technology gets developed and regulated from country to country.
So, where does all this leave us? We're in this intense moment of crazy hype, super fast development, and let's be honest, a good bit of anxiety. So, let's try to get some real perspective on what's coming next. This whole emotional roller coaster, the wild excitement mixed with fear, it actually follows a pretty familiar pattern for big technologies. This is the Gartner hype cycle. We've just come off that huge initial wave, the peak of inflated expectations. Many experts think we're now heading into the trough of disillusionment. Now, that sounds bad, but it's actually a necessary phase where the hype cools down and we start the hard work of figuring out how to make this technology really useful and reliable. So, how do we get through that trough and build something truly valuable? Well, experts pretty much agree on a few key things. First, always keep a human in the loop to check the AI's work. Second, be incredibly careful about the data used for training to fight bias. We also need things like watermarking so we can tell what's AI generated. And finally, we need to develop smart, fair regulations to act as guardrails. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is. It's a tool, an incredibly powerful one for sure, but still a tool. It isn't inherently good or bad. Its impact is going to be defined by the choices we all make, the safeguards we build, and the problems we choose to solve. So the most important question isn't what the AI will do next. The question is, what will we do with